What's going on YouTube? This is PyroTakun bringing you guys a Super Smash Bros. 4 roster. Unlike my last video, which was a wish list, this is a complete roster of who I think could and should be in the next Smash Bros. Alright, now before I get into the actual video, I just want to talk about the rules and limitations I put around myself to try to keep this roster as realistic as possible. Alright, the first thing, I wanted to keep as many old characters as possible. So, I didn't want too many of the older, Smash Bros. Fans feeling left out, taking out too many characters. And, that just gets too many complaints. I only took out 4 characters, but it's still going to be enough for someone to notice and start complaining. So, yeah. Now, with that being said, I did keep the original 12. The original 12 just had to stay. They've been in every single Smash Bros. And there's no way Sakurai is going to take them out for the next one. So, the original 12 have to be there. Alright, the next up, only 4 characters per series. I see some people making, their Smash Bros. Rosters, they're putting in like, 5 Zelda characters or something like that. I just kept mine to 4 per series because that's just the way it's been for Melee and Brawl, and it's also, a comfortable amount you can feel for a franchise without it feeling like overpowering, because you got some characters like Captain Falcon or, Olimar that's only, representing their franchise. It's just one character representing the franchise. So yeah, 4 characters per series. Another thing is, well, the next 2 go hand in hand. I try to keep it first party Nintendo because that's really what Smash Bros. Is. It's about their first party, and I try to keep third party to a minimum. I still ended up with 3 third party characters, but I feel like the move up from 3 after Brawl had 2, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. Alright, and I think that concludes the limitations I put around myself, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, I'm not really going to explain the old characters. I'm just going to go through and explain the newcomers I added. And starting from left to right, going by columns, first up is Rosalina, however you pronounce her name. Rosalina, I think she would be an interesting character. She's kind of like a queen of the cosmos. You could definitely have some interesting movesets with her. It might be, come off more Zelda-like, with magical powers or something like that. But I definitely think it'd be interesting to see them come up with a moveset for her. Alright, next up is Demise. Dun dun dun. Demise replaced Toon Link in my roster. First off, I'm not into clones that much, even though you can argue Toon Link and Link were different enough. I think they were, but Smash Bros. Needed more villains. I'm not into like duplicate characters, so I added Demise. Now, why did I add Demise over Ghirham? Ghirham, like, either way, I'd be fine with him in Smash Bros. He's more likely, but he's just kind of like, not really, I don't know, it's just something about him I don't really like. I would prefer Demise. The guy's just a total badass. Just look at him, the way he fights. He kicked my ass in Skyward Sword plenty of times. He's just a total beast. I would rather have Demise. That's just me. Alright, next up we have Ridley. This is, kind of one of the more requested characters. Ridley was in Brawl as like, this big ass boss. Obviously, if they put Ridley in the game as a playable character, they'll have to downscale him like they did with Bowser. I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, look at the friggin' Super Mario Galaxies, Super Mario 3D Land. Bowser is big as fuck, but obviously they downscaled him for Smash Bros. So they could do the same with Ridley. I mean, Ridley is kind of like is like Samus's arch rival. Ridley always comes back. So I think Ridley deserves a spot. Next up, I got Prince Fluff. Prince Fluff from Kirby's Epic Yarn. I think it'd be interesting to have, the Yarn Kirby in there, and Prince Fluff and Yarn Kirby, they're the same thing. And, if you have Prince Fluff instead of Yarn Kirby, it's not a duplicate character, like Link and Toon Link. So, yeah, I think they could come up with some interesting movesets for him. Alright, next up, this is probably where we see the most changes in the roster, is once we get to the Pokemon part. I added Zoroark, however the hell you pronounce it. Yeah, just because, you always have to add a current gen Pokemon. And this guy, he's pretty beast. He's got the humanoid shape. I think he would definitely have an awesome moveset. They could even, add his ability in there where, like, he transforms into another character, on the screen. Like, if you're playing a free-for-all, transforms and, like, your player 1 transforms like player 3 or something, kind of throw everyone off. But he still has the same moveset or something. I think that'd be interesting. Next up, Blaziken. Blaziken's just a beast. I don't know. Like, I don't feel the need to explain him too much. Like, Blaziken's just a total badass. He's a fighting Pokemon, firefighting. So, obviously, coming up with the moveset for him in Smash Bros. Wouldn't be too difficult. He'd be right at home. Next newcomer we got is the Black Knight. Black Knight from Fire Emblem, Path Radiance, and Radiant Dawn. I mean, this guy is just a tank. He can take hits, he can dish hits, and, he's actually ridiculously fast, too, for some reason. I doubt they'd put that in Smash Bros., but he would just be a total beast. He just really would. Right, after him we have Isaac here. Isaac from Golden Sun. He was in Brawl as an assist trophy. I definitely think he could be a fully playable character. I mean, anyone who's played Golden Sun knows that there's enough, like, Jins, and there's enough, like, magical power moves. There's definitely a lot that he could work with. And he could be vastly different from the other characters. He really could. Alright, next up we start getting to the Xenoblade characters, Shulk and Fiora. Shulk has to be in there just because, main character, power of the Monado, like, who doesn't want that in Smash Bros? And I was debating between Fiora, Rain, and Charla. Well, I felt the need to add more female characters, and I think Charla would be a bit awkward with her giant weapon. Don't take that out of context. But yeah, I just think she'd be a bit more awkward to play as, so Fiora. And I think she'd have an interesting playstyle. Alright, next up we get to Magnus from Kid Icarus Uprising. This guy, I mean, he was only in the... I only came across him like 2 chapters in the game or something, but he's just a natural brawler. Just seems like he fits perfectly, Why not add more Kid Icarus people, Alright, next up we have Aaron from Pandora's Tower. Now, like most of these other characters, I feel like he'd be right at home in Smash Bros, especially since he's got the hack and slash. He has a different, he has a variety of weapons he can use. He could definitely be a very versatile, interesting character. Alright, next up, Isa from Sin and Punishment Star Successor. Kind of like along the same lines as Aaron, he would have, a versatile moveset. Kind of like a lesser known Nintendo franchise people don't really know about or pay attention to. Could get some publicity out there, but I think Isa would definitely be a badass character as well. Right, now for the newcomers, we start diving into our third party characters. First up is Zale from Last Story. Now, Zale himself I'm not too excited about, but if you can only have one character, then it would have to be the main character, since he kind of represents the franchise. But Last Story is definitely a great game, and it's pretty close to Nintendo the way they developed Last Story and worked with them, so it's almost like first party, but it's still technically not. It's still technically third party, but I think Zale deserves the spot. And third party, Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia. Namco Bandai is working on this game, and they've expressed interest in adding a Tales character, but they said they can only add one character, and it had to be someone that showed up on a Nintendo console. And Lloyd fits that bill along with a few other characters, but I think Lloyd fits it better because of, he has more exclusivity. Didn't pronounce that right, but whatever. He has stronger ties with Nintendo than other Tales characters. Tales of Symphonia Dawn New World, Soul Calibur Legends. Like, I think he has stronger ties with Nintendo than the other Tales characters. And finally, we come across a character of no character, kind of. The Mii, just play as your Miis, kind of like you do in Mario Kart. Just for shits and giggles, why the hell not? And I kind of count it as a roster spot. So, yep, there it is for the newcomers. Now I kind of want to get into the other part of this video, the missing characters and the Mario characters. First up, I want to talk about the Mario characters. It's kind of hypocritical for me to be like, oh yeah, I only had counted 4 characters per franchise. And then, I have freaking Mario, Luigi, Rosalina, Yoshi, Peach, Wario, and Bowser. That's a lot. Okay, the way I set it up, I count Mario, Rosalina, Peach, and Bowser from the Mario series, and Luigi from Luigi's Mansion, Yoshi from Yoshi's Island, Wario from, WarioWare, Wario Land. So, I mean, it's kind of the way Nintendo broke it down too. I just split Luigi off into Luigi's Mansion so I could get Rosalina in there. Alright, and now as for the missing characters, let's start off with Toon Link. I already kind of talked about it. I'm not into clone characters. Now, Link and Toon Link were different. They were different enough, I'm not gonna lie, but like I said, I'm just not into duplicate characters, like 2 versions of the same character. I'm not down with that. That's why I didn't add Paper Mario. That's why I didn't do Yarn Kirby. I went with Prince Fluff. Is what it is. Sorry, guys. Now, 2 of the missing characters are right here from the Pokemon roster, and I think that's where I'm going to get the most criticism. I replaced Lucario with Zoroark, because, I don't know, I just think they'd be too similar in a way, with the Shadow Ball or Sphere and, some other moves. I think that their playstyle would be too similar to justify keeping both. And now, why did I take out Pokemon Trainer? Well, very few people are actually able to use Pokemon Trainer effectively, since it was 3 Pokemon and you had to switch out, due to fatigue and all this stuff. I thought it was just kind of silly, so I just put in Blaziken, and Blaziken's a beast. So, yeah. Let's see. And the final missing character is Snake. Now, Snake shouldn't be too hard to explain why I took him out. He really doesn't have many ties with Nintendo. I mean, what? He's been in, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes and Snake Eater 3D. Those weren't even original games. Those were both remakes. And that's really the only ties of... those are the only connections I can make with Snake and Nintendo, and quite frankly, that's definitely just not enough to be in a game like Smash Bros, where, everyone is either Nintendo or very close to Nintendo. And finally, I want to talk about why I kept Sonic. Now, I was thinking about getting rid of Sonic as well, as Snake, but I decided to keep Sonic because I started thinking about it, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and, Sonic Colors and the Storybook series. Sonic, he does have stronger ties with Nintendo than most third-party characters, and that's just the conclusion I came to, so I kept him. Alright guys, so there you have it. That's PyroTakun Smash Bros. Roster. That's his explanation. This is my final version. I'm not going to change it unless, I really feel like it. I feel pretty comfortable with this roster. I know you guys are going to get some, give me some complaints and some negative feedback. Oh, my character wasn't in there, or you didn't add this person. But go ahead, feel free to leave your response. Feel free to make a video response with your own roster. I would like to see that. I really would. But I feel like this is a pretty solid and, kind of realistic roster, minus a couple things here and there. But, yeah. That's it. PyroTakun, out.